Have you ever heard the analogy that genes are the building blocks of life? Well, today we're going to explore this topic through looking at Module 2 content on genetics and how it's relevant to psychology. Firstly, a little snapshot of the genetics. A gene is a segment of deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA as it's affectionately known. These are essentially the blueprint our body uses to create the final product of us. Genes inform the proteins secreted by our body, which then manifest in our physical traits and biological functions. We receive 50% of our genes from each of our parents, which means that we have 2 copies of each gene, and we refer to these gene pairs as our genotype. If the 2 copies are identical, we call this homozygous, and if they're different, they are heterozygous. Here, dominant and recessive genes are also relevant. If a gene is dominant, such as the gene for brown eyes or for a widow's peak hairline, then we only need one of those genes in the genotype for the trait to appear. Whereas if a gene is recessive, we need homozygous genotype for the trait to appear, such as the gene for blue eyes or a straight hairline. But are we essentially pre-coded to be an unchangeable final product, or is it more complicated than that? Yeah, you probably guessed it, it's always more complicated than that. These genetics are clearly fundamental in who we are, but what about our environment and the way that it influences us? For example, traumatic events, harsh conditions, and lifestyle choices. Well, the discussion around this push and pull topic is the basis of the ongoing nature versus nurture debate, which aims to explore how much of what or who we are is down to genetics and how much is down to environmental impacts like the ones mentioned above. Out of the nature versus nurture debate emerged 2 key areas of research: heritability and epigenetics. Heritability is the degree to which a gene is responsible for a particular trait. It is measured from a scale of 0 to 1, with 1 being highly heritable, although this isn't a fixed number and can be influenced by a number of factors, including environmental influences. Research has shown that traits such as height, eye color, and even schizophrenia are highly heritable, whereas things such as sleep quality are not. Looking more closely at the relationship between genetics and environmental influences is epigenetics. One of the key figures in this field is Michael Meaney, whose experiment on rat mothers and their maternal grooming habits discovered that environmental influences can activate or deactivate characteristics at a genetic level, which can then be passed on to other generations. So what does this all mean? Your genes provide a foundation, but your environment certainly has a part to play too. Whether it's height, eye color, intelligence, or mental health, both nature and nurture contribute to who you are.